Live from the tank on the College of Staten Island. You're watching exclusive basketball coverage right here on CSI Sportsnet. This afternoon, the College of Staten Island will take on the Kean University Cougars in the traditional Martin Luther King Classic here today at the College of Staten Island. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Pabuski along with my broadcast partner, Joe Foreman. And Joe, it's been a couple of games since we've been here broadcasting the men's team. They went on the road. They had 3 consecutive CUNYAC games coming up, 3 big games, and the team played really exceptional basketball in all 3 of those games. Come back now on a 3-game winning streak and get ready to face Kean University here this afternoon.
The Dolphins did a great job on that recent road trip, including 3 conference games, as you mentioned, against Baruch College, Medgar Evers, and Hunter College. Of course, the Dolphins winning all 3 of those games. And the victory over Baruch, it really was a tale of 2 halves for the Dolphins in that game. After a very strong showing in half number 1, Baruch came storming back in half number 2. The Dolphins led at halftime by 16 points, and in the second half were outscored 41-27, holding on for the 2-point victory over the Bearcats in that game. And it was a very similar story against Medgar Evers, except that in the first half, that game was much closer than the final score would indicate. In that game against the Cougars of Medgar Evers College, the Dolphins led by 4 at the end of the first half, but that was a very back-and-forth game in half number 1. And half number 2, the Dolphins ran away with a 17-point victory. And then up against Hunter College in the third of those 3 conference games that we just mentioned. The Dolphins did play well in that one. Again, a huge lead in the first half, a lead of 19 points. They went on to win the game by 13 points, so much less of a let-up in the second half of that game, and they'll be looking for more of that here today.
Yeah, you know, Joe, they went in and they faced a very strong Hunter College team that had been playing really well, and, you know, Adeola Latunji really had a breakout game for the Dolphins on Saturday afternoon, 11 of 17 from the field. 5 of 6 from the floor, including 6 rebounds and a block and 3 steals. So, you know, that's the kind of stat line you're looking for from a player like Latunji, and he's really getting better and better with every game. He's obviously explosive to the basket, Joe, but in the last few games he's shown the ability to hit the outside shot as well.
Yep, you mentioned the outside shots that Latunji has been able to knock down recently, and we've also mentioned how he can play above the rim. He's created several highlights for the Dolphins so far this season, throwing down some emphatic dunks in their games. He's also a player that gets to the free throw line well. He took 6 free throws in that game against Hunter College, hit 5 of them, and another player for the Dolphins, a key scoring threat for the CSI offense, and a player who got to the free throw line very well in that game. That player is Christian Taylor, who was 7-15 from the field in the game against Hunter College, though a perfect 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He scored 19 points in 32 minutes in that game. So Latunji and Taylor leading the way for the Dolphins offensively against Hunter College. They'll be looking for more of the same from those 2 players today.
Yeah, they will be, Joe. And, you know, you could really see the increased confidence from some of these younger players. And, you know, Christian Taylor came into this year having some really big shoes to fill. You know, nobody's going to come in and replace a player like Frankie Schettino, but Christian's been playing better and better. His shooting percentages are off the chart, and, you know, he's getting much more aggressively offensively, Joe.
And you mentioned those shooting percentages of Christian Taylor, and those exact numbers, 55% from the field and 54% from three-point range, leading the Dolphins with 15.2 points per game. So certainly a very strong start to the season for Christian Taylor. And after a bit of a slow start for the Dolphins offensively this season, they've really picked it up from that point. After about 4 games, I believe, the Dolphins, or 5 games, the Dolphins started with only a lone win on the season. Since then, now they've evened their record at 7-7. It was indeed a 1-4 start for the Dolphins to open up this season. Now stand at 7-7, as I just mentioned, and that's due in large part to their increase in field goal percentage from those games early in the season. The team now shooting at over 43% from the field, and they have their three-point percentage up at 35%. So head coach TJ Tibbs has to be very happy with the more efficient shooting from this team, and if they can shoot the basketball that way today against the Kean University team that comes in struggling a bit, the Dolphins should be able to come away with a victory.
And, you know, Joe, this team has played a very tough non-conference schedule here in the 2017-18 season, and, you know, it's really helped the team grow. And, you know, you look at the way they're playing now, they're playing with a lot of confidence. You know, they don't have as much size as necessarily you'd like to have, but other than that, you know, they're really firing and really playing very strong defense. And, we've had a couple of opportunities to talk to head coach T.J. Tibbs throughout the year. And, he stresses everything beginning with defense. And the team has done that very well, and they've been able to use that to catapult and get a lot of good offensive possessions going as well.
And you've mentioned the better defense this team has played. Through the first 5 games, the Dolphins had losses by 10 points against Stevens Institute, by 43 points against Wagner College, by 30 points at Lebanon Valley, and by 11 points against Yeshiva. The Dolphins' scoring differential on the season is now down to only minus 1.1. So the defense has been much better. They've been allowing far fewer points. You mentioned some of those tough non-conference games the Dolphins have played. I just mentioned 3 of those, but the Dolphins have vastly improved their defense since the start of the season, and the numbers attest to that.
Yeah, they really do, Joe. And, for the Dolphins, it's one non-conference game here on Martin Luther King Day before they really begin a series of conference games. And for the Dolphins, a lot of road conference games to start the year. And, of course, that means a lot of conference games for the Dolphins at home coming up. And since the Dolphins finished the regular season with 2 conference games on the road, really they're looking at, I think, 6 of the next 7 or 7 of the next 8 conference games right here at the Tank on Staten Island.
And here at the Tank, the Dolphins will take on Brooklyn College on January 17th. That's on Wednesday as part of a doubleheader. They'll take on John Jay here on the 20th, Baruch here on the 24th, York here on the 27th, Medgar Evers on the 30th, and then they will be at they'll play Hunter College here, I should say, on February 6th. Then those road games pick up. There is one road game during the month of January as well in the conference, that against CCNY on January 22nd. Then you mentioned, Mike, the Dolphins will wrap up their season with 2 conference road matchups at Brooklyn College and at Lehman College. So a lot of CUNYAC basketball to be played here at the Tank. This the last of several non-conference games that we've mentioned already, and the Dolphins will hope to move into the conference portion of their schedule with a victory here today.
Joe, we move ourselves into early January now, really getting into mid-January, and it gets to be the start of the time where you really start to look at the conference standings a little bit, and where all the teams are is you have a chance to get a look at the standings up on your board right now. Dolphins now 6-1 in the conference after winning the last 3 games. Their only conference loss of the season is to Lehman College, who you see sitting in top of the table. Hunter, as we mentioned, came in with a record of 5-1. The Dolphins were able to travel there Saturday, get the victory. Baruch, York, teams they've already beaten already. Brooklyn coming up this Wednesday. John Jay and Medgar Evers teams the Dolphins already beat. So, a little bit early, but not too early to start sorting out the table for the conference championships.
Well, speaking of perhaps too early to make mention of something, I should say that final matchup of the season in the conference at Lehman College could prove to be the game that decides the winner of the CUNYAC Conference here in 2017-2018. And that loss here at the Tank that the Dolphins suffered at the hands of the Lightning, that game was played back on January 3rd here at the Tank. The Dolphins lost that game in overtime following a layup which was taken, and really the ball was dribbled about 2/3 the length of the court, and then a finish at the rim by the Lightning sent that game to overtime. The Dolphins would go on to lose in overtime by 6. That's a huge defeat for the Dolphins, who otherwise, had they not lost that game, would be unbeaten in the CUNYAC Conference. They've been very strong in conference this year, and they'll hope to pick up a non-conference victory here today. They've struggled a bit outside of the conference. I mentioned before losses at the hands of Yeshiva, Lebanon Valley, Wagner, and Stevens Institute. Those 4 games played throughout the month of November. 4 of their first 5 games of the season losses outside of the conference. So the Dolphins will hope to pick up a win outside of the conference here this afternoon.
So you're listening to the pregame show right here at the Tank at the College of Staten Island. The Dolphins getting ready to face the Kean University Cougars here this afternoon in a game starting at 1 o'clock. We've brought you up to date on the CSI Dolphins. Why don't we step aside here? We'll take a break. We'll come back, and then we'll let you know about the opponent here this afternoon, the Kean University Cougars, as you're watching pregame coverage right here on your voice of everything CSI Sports, CSI Sportsnet, CSIDolphins.com.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Mom.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to care of you.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft. To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60. Now I get it.
When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me
We're
help
back,
you out?
and we're
Everyone
just
plays
moments
a
away
part.
from the start of this afternoon's game between the
Don't
College of
trash.
Staten Island and
I
the
love
Kean
taking stuff
University
apart and
Cougars.
building
The
new
College of
things out of
Staten
it.
Island
What
evening
could
their
you
record
treasure?
up at 7-7,
Hi.
and coming into
Matthew
this
Seven
game on a
application.
3-game winning streak, while the Kean University Cougars 5-10 on the year overall, just 3-6 in the very tough NJAC conference. And you know, Joe, you look at this as a traditional rivalry between these two teams. They've been playing against each other for years and years here. CSI has had the better of the series lately, but we know when these two teams get together, anything can happen.
Certainly anything could happen. And taking a look at the stats, these two teams are very similar, at least in terms of their shooting. For the Cougars of Kean University, they come in shooting just shy of 42% from the field, and they shoot exactly 34% from three-point range as compared to the Dolphins, who shoot 43% from the field and just under 35% from three-point range. So these two teams very similar shooting the basketball. Also, two teams that don't rebound particularly well. The Dolphins with a minus 4.1 rebounding margin, and for the Cougars, I believe it was minus about 7 on the rebounding for Kean University. I'll get a look at that in just a moment. Indeed, it is 7.5. Minus 7.5 rebounds for for the Cougars. So the rebounding battle is really up for grabs. I think that's something we'll look at more just before tip-off as we talk about our keys to the game. But this is a game where both teams certainly could win the rebounding battle. It really could go either way, and the team that wins that battle could very well be the team that comes out ahead in this one.
And you know, Joe, the Dolphins are being led now by Christian Taylor, the sophomore in the backcourt, and Adeola Latunje continuing to play better and better. You look at this Kean University team, and you see another freshman player, Adrian Balcom, leading the team in scoring, averaging over 13 points a game on 42% shooting, including 83% from the free throw line, and those are very good numbers for a freshman player.
Absolutely, and both teams with a pair of players averaging double figures. You mentioned Adrian Balcom for the Cougars. Also, DeAndre Thomas averaging 10.4 points per game. He shoots about 38% from the field. Balcom shoots just over 42%, but Balcom shoots nearly 36% from three-point range, while Thomas shoots about 32%. So really, it seems as if, based on the numbers, you said it, Mike, Adrian Balcom, the player that the Dolphins really need to watch in this game, a player who can score the ball both from inside and outside of the arc. Also a player who gets to the free throw line. He's taken 41 free throws on the season through the team's 15 games and made 34 of those for an 83% clip at the charity stripes. He's a player that you want to keep off of the free throw line as well, and make sure you don't give up open threes to Balcom. There are other players on this team that do shoot the ball well from downtown, including Steven Strom, who is shooting over 42% from three-point range and 96% from the free throw line. He's 22 of 23 from the charity stripe on the season. So this is a team, the Cougars, that you want to try and keep off the free throw line and run them off the three-point line. If the Dolphins can do that, they should put themselves in a good position to win this game.
And, you know, Joe, you look at this Kean University team and this roster for the Cougars, not a single senior on the roster, so it's a young team, a developing team, a team that struggled a little bit here in the 2017 season, but, you know, we mentioned it a little bit earlier for the Dolphins here today, a tough challenge against a non-conference team. And, you know, one other thing that jumps at you looking out on the floor at Kean here today, they don't have any more size than the Dolphins do.
And that's why I mentioned the rebounding battle before. It really is a battle that is up for grabs for both teams. And at times the Dolphins not only have had issues rebounding the basketball, but when you've had larger players who can really go to work down in the low post, they've been able to find success against this Dolphins defense, a defense that, as we mentioned before, has played much better since the month of November, really, where they lost 4 of the 5 games they played in that month. And if the Dolphins can bring that defensive effort here today, both inside the paint and outside of it, they should find themselves, again, as I said before, in a good position to win this game. Really defensively is where the Dolphins will have to key in this one, and that not only includes playing well defensively on the ball, but closing out defensive possessions with rebounds as well.
And, you know, Joe, we have just a couple of minutes before we take our final break and get you ready for the start of the game here tonight, including your keys to the game. But, you know, again, we mentioned the Dolphins really coming in on a good roll. They had to go out on the road after that tough overtime loss against Lehman College and really did a nice job. They went into 3 places to play that were very difficult, very tough conference games. And really, in other than the Baruch game was close, but the game against Medgar Evers and the game against Hunter College, you really never felt during those games that the Dolphins were going to lose.
And we spoke about it before we went on the air, and I think that game against the Bearcats at Baruch College was a huge game for this Dolphins team, a game that if they had lost it really could have changed the course of their season from where it's headed right now. We mentioned they come into this matchup today with the Cougars of Kean University off of 3 straight wins. Had they lost that game against the Bearcats at Baruch College after going into the second half with a huge lead, I think it may have been exceptionally demoralizing, especially coming off of that loss against the Lehman College Lightning, a game where the Dolphins led for the majority of the second half before letting it get away late. So that win against the Bearcats was a huge win, and then against Medgar Evers and Hunter College, the Dolphins went out there and got the job done. A more consistent effort in those 2 games, though in the first half against the Cougars, the Dolphins came out a bit slow. They made up for it with a huge second half. Here today from the Dolphins, they'll be looking for a strong 2 halves of play. That's something we'll talk more about right before tip-off.
Yeah, and you know, Joe, it's a very interesting team for the Dolphins, a very nice mix of freshman players, sophomore players, and a couple of veterans in Rob Rossiter and Eden Brachich, who have also played very well this year. So we'll have little bit more time to talk to that as we get through the game here this afternoon. So what we're going to do is we're going to step aside. We're going to take our final break of the pregame show, and then we'll be back with the starting lineup and Joe's keys of the game as we get ready for the start of this non-conference battle between the College of Staten Island and Kean University as you're watching exclusive basketball coverage right here on your voice of everything CSI Sports, CSI Sportsnet, CSIDolphins.com.
Alvin and the Chipmunks want to remind you, bacteria can hide in food and make you ill.
Wow.
But you can keep bacteria from ruining your day with 4 simple steps. Clean.
I'm waiting for the rinse cycle.
Separate. Cook.
Fire in the hole!
And chill.
We chipmunks are notoriously tidy.
Check your steps. The road trip to food safety starts at foodsafety.gov.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
As an American, it's hard to hear that we have a serious hunger issue in our country. And as a parent, it's even harder to hear that 1 in 5 of our kids struggles with hunger, especially when billions of pounds of good food are wasted every year. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide billions of meals to families in need right in your community. Visit feedingamerica.org to support Feeding America and your local food bank. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Thank you. You got a Kean?
Go fish!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hi, may I please have an
We're back, and we're just moments away from the start of this afternoon's game between the College of Staten Island and Kean University. The Dolphins coming in on a 3-game road winning streak and look to extend their winning streak to 4. And as the players are getting introduced out on the floor, here to bring you the starting lineups, my broadcast partner, Joe Foreman. Joe?
All right, first for the visiting Cougars of Kean University. Number 1, Micah Kerr, starting at forward. Number 31, Duke Jermaine, also a forward. Number 12, Keenan Williams Jr., listed as a guard. Number 21, Justin Watson, also a guard. And guard number 25, Steven Strom. And for the College of Staten Island, forward number 11, Jade Spencer. Forward number 31, Robert Rossiter. Guard number 2, Adeola Latunji. Guard number 23, Christian Taylor. And guard number 30, Raymond Savage. Those are the starters for the College of Staten Island.
And, Joe, the College of Staten Island looking to extend their winning streak to 4, and to do so, they're going to have to face a tough NJAC opponent in Kean University here this afternoon. What are your keys of the game for the College of Staten Island to extend their winning streak to 4 straight?
First, for the College of Staten Island, they need to try and win the battle on the boards in this game. That's something that they've struggled to do so far this season. Early in the season, up until this point, they have a negative rebounding margin, due in large part to a lack of size. But you mentioned it in the pregame, Mike. Kean University also doesn't have great size, maybe a bit more size than the Dolphins, but certainly not size the Dolphins can overcome in this game. If they can close out possessions on the glass, they should put themselves in a good position, not only at the defensive end getting stops, but at the offensive end moving out in transition. The second key to the game for CSI in this one is consistency through both halves of this game. And a prime example of a lack of consistency through 2 halves is their game against the Bearcats of Baruch College. In the first half of that game, the Dolphins shot nearly 58% from the field and 50% from downtown. However, in the second half, they dipped down to 40% from the field and 40% from three-point range. That may not sound all that bad. Pretty good numbers, you would think, but they committed 11 turnovers in that second half. That really hurt them. In the first half, only 7. So the Dolphins really need to close out the game in the second half, or even vice versa in some games where they've started off a bit slowly and then finished stronger. They'd like to see consistent play through both halves. And lastly, they need to have the killer instinct. Late in these games where the Dolphins have gone up against teams such as the Lightning and the Bearcats, they were unable to close the game out easily. The Bearcats made a run to get to within 2, and the Lightning ultimately overcame the Dolphins. We'd like to see that killer instinct from CSI today.
So the opening tip is controlled by the Dolphins, and we're underway as Rossiter hands the ball off to Latunji, who jams it home. Great offensive start for the Dolphins.
And we spoke about it in the pregame. Adeola Latunji playing above the rim, providing yet another highlight for this Dolphins team.
Yeah, good start here for the Dolphins, and now it'll be the first possession of the afternoon here for the Cougars as it's Williams with the basketball. He dumps it off, and the long three-point jumper is good. So nice comeback there by the Cougars as Watson hits the three-pointer. 3-2 as Rossiter gets the ball out on the far near sideline, gets it to Latunji. Now it's Rossiter. He puts up the three-pointer and buries it. So both teams come out shooting the ball well, Joe.
We mentioned the Dolphins come into this game shooting much better as of late, especially since those first 5 games this season. A strong start from the field for both teams, especially CSI, as they knock down a 3 there.
5-3 the score as the ball goes inside to Kerr. His floater in the lane is up no good. The tip is no good. And now Rossiter grabs the first rebound of the game. Rossiter looking to spin his way inside. He's double-teamed. Now he gets it over to Latunji. And now Taylor will set up offensively for the Dolphins. Taylor bringing it to the rim and laying it up and in. And, Joe, the Dolphins wasting no time attacking the Cougar defense.
Well, they've attacked the defense there. As you saw Christian Taylor get inside, pushing the Dolphins to 3 for 3 from the field, but also getting it done from beyond the arc as well with the Robert Rossiter 3.
Williams kicking the ball out now. It's Summerer with the basketball. Now the bounce pass goes inside. A nice feed inside. The reverse layup by Storm is no good. And now it'll be Savage for the Dolphins. Savage, a beautiful feed inside, and Spencer misses the layup. Dolphins' first miss of the afternoon, and now it's going to be Watson with the ball. He feeds it inside. The shot's going to be no good, but we're going to have a whistle and our first foul of the afternoon.
I mentioned in the pregame, the Cougars, a team that does get to the free throw line, and the first visitor to the charity stripe for Kean will be Justin Watson.
So Watson will go to the line here for the Cougars. His first free throw is up and good. Justin, just a 45% free throw shooter, 5 of 11. If you have an opportunity to see that opening jam by Latunji for that good Dolphin start, as the second free throw is up and in. Watson has all 5 of the Cougar points, and it's a 7-5 Dolphin lead. Savage hands the ball off to Latunji. His jumper from the free throw line is good and playing with more and more confidence, Joe.
Absolutely, Mike. We saw Latunji get it done up above the rim with that opening jam, and then there from mid-range off of the screen hits the free throw line jumper to give the Dolphins a 4-point lead.
Williams with the basketball. Bounce pass now over to Summerer. Summerer feeds it inside. That shot by Watson is going to be up and no good, but he's going to go to the free throw line once again for the Cougars.
I do have to make a correction. I believe we had Duke Germain listed as a starter in the pregame, but you just said it, Mike, as you have already a couple of times. It is Michael Summerer who is in there for Kean University, so we had an incorrect starter for you during the pregame. We apologize for that.
Watson's first free throw is up and in, so he's been the whole Cougar offense here, all 6 of Kean's points. That foul was on Latunji, so he picks up his first, and Watson misses his first free throw, and now the Dolphins in possession of the basketball. Taylor guarded by Williams. Bounce pass goes over to Savage. He feeds it inside to Taylor, who banks it up and in. Dolphins continue to attack.
And there have been openings in the middle of the Cougars' defense. The Dolphins have been exploiting them thus far.
11-6 to score. Taylor now with 4 for the Dolphins. Kerr over to Watson. He's feeling it, and he buries it.
Watson has already exceeded his points per game average on the season. He has the first 9 points for the Cougars. He averages 8.5 on the season.
Yes, and he's been keeping them in the game here as Taylor takes it to the basket once again and lays it up and in. And the Cougars are going to have to play better defense than that, Joe, against Christian Taylor.
And that was way too easy for Christian Taylor. Took it right to the basket without much resistance at all once he crossed inside the free throw line.
Williams with the basketball now, out beyond the three-point line. He's guarded by Savage. Bounce pass to Summerer, back to Williams. He puts up the long three-pointer. That's no good. And Latunji will go up and grab the rebound for the Dolphins. Savage gets it back from Spencer now, out by the three-point line. As the Dolphins look to set up now with 15 seconds on the shot clock. Savage goes right past the biggest Summerer, but Summerer does a nice job getting back into play, knocking it out of bounds. Dolphins will inbound with 6 to shoot, but the first substitution for the Dolphins here this afternoon.
And it will be number 1, Stephen Flagg, entering the game for CSI, replacing Adeola Latunji early in this first half.
So the Dolphins inbound the ball now to Taylor. Taylor with 4. He goes right to the basket. His shot is up, no good. Summerer grabs the rebound. And now it'll be Watson. Summerer out by the three-point line. Now they lob the ball inside nicely to Kerr, who lays it up and in. That time he posted up the smaller Savage.
And Kerr took good advantage there of his size over the smaller Raymond Savage and got an easy layup. Roster over to help, just a bit too late.
Flagg feeding it inside to Taylor, and Taylor just banks it up and in. And he's just been backing in Williams all this first half. He already has 8. But a nice job by Kerr to come right back and lay it up and in. And it'll be a 30-second timeout taken by the Dolphins. Dolphins playing well offensively, Joe, but Kean able to get their own points as well.
They have, and let's talk about the Dolphins offensively, as you just said for a moment. They've come out shooting very well, 7 of 10 from the field, not only getting it done in the painted area, and at times we saw Christian Taylor with his back to the basket right there down in the low post taking a turnaround jumper. They've gotten it done inside and out. Robert Rossiter with a 3, Adeola Latunji with a mid-range shot from just beyond the free throw line. We've mentioned it in prior broadcasts. At times the Dolphins have had some trouble knocking down jump shots, not so far here this afternoon.
Yeah, you know, they, as you mentioned, Joe, playing very well offensively, but on the other hand, Kean University has been able to get their own offense going as well.
They have. Kean shooting 4 of 8 from the field, largely on the back of Justin Watson, who has a three-pointer, I believe actually a pair of three-pointers that he's knocked down so far here in this first half. Has also gotten to the free throw line as well. So Kean has their own offensive attack succeeding in this first half as well. The Dolphins now facing some pressure as they bring the ball up the floor.
So that time it's going to be Summerer picking up the foul out by the basket. Kean came out, tried to press off the timeout. The Dolphins draw the first Cougar foul of the afternoon. That's going to be on Summerer, and the Dolphins will inbound now as it's Taylor getting the ball up over to Flagg. Nice feed inside to Taylor once again. This time Summerer came over, and it'll be a jump ball, possession arrow to the Cougars.
That's a pair of nice plays on the inside by Michael Summerer at the defensive end of the floor. Block on Raymond Savage just a couple of possessions ago, and then right there able to stifle the attempted shot by Christian Taylor, forcing the jump ball.
So it's now Summerer with the basketball. He gets it up over to Watson. His long three-pointer is up, no good. A fight for the rebound, and Savage does a nice job coming away with the ball for the Dolphins. Taylor feeds it inside looking for Spencer, but the Cougars were on the baseline, so it'll be Dolphin basketball with 23 seconds to shoot.
And we'll have substitutions on both sides. As for the Dolphins, it will be Rigo Destime checking in to replace Raymond Savage. And a pair of Cougars checked in. Number 10, Jeff Cooper, and number 45, Adrian Balcom.
So that long jumper is going to be an air ball, but Flagg able to grab the rebound. His putback is up no good. So the Dolphins with an opportunity, but can't get the offensive putback. Driving to the basket and missing the layup, but drawing the foul on the play will be Carrie Saturn, who checked into the game for the Cougars.
So that was a trio of substitutions for the Cougars at that last horn.
So Savage will go to the free throw line. The Cougars coming into today's game, a good free throw shooting team, shooting 72% from the line, and they hit the first.
And the wave of early substitution continues as Christian Kopech checks in, replacing Robert Rossiter for the Dolphins. So both teams making several substitutions so far in this first half.
And I don't see Eden Bracic on the bench for the Dolphins today, Joe, so he will be out of the lineup as well. So Rigo Destime checking into the game for the Dolphins, as Dolphins will be without one of their veteran three-point shooters here this afternoon. Flagg with the basketball. Now it's Destime. He feeds it inside to Kopech. Now it's Flagg. Cross-court pass to Taylor. Pass inside is knocked away, and the Cougars with the basketball and an opportunity to take the lead. Long three-pointer up, no good, as that was Balcom's three-pointer, and now the Dolphins with the basketball. Destime, Flagg, Kopech driving down the baseline. His layup is up, no good, but he'll draw the foul and go to the free throw line.
Strong move to the rim by Kopech, who took a shot to the face. The foul was charged to Adrian Balcom. That's his first personal. Team's second of this first half, and that will send Kopech to the line for two.
Christian 12 of 15 from the line. That's 80%, and he misses the first. He'll have one more upcoming. (15-15) the score. Second is up and in. So the Dolphins retake a one-point lead, 16-15. As it's Balcom with the basketball, the 6'2" freshman from Teaneck, New Jersey, the leading scorer for the Cougars, is getting the ball inside that time is Saturn, and he lays it up and in, and he was able to take the ball right to the basket on that play, Joe.
And another strong move to the rim, this time by a Cougars player, as Carrie Saturn takes it right to the basket and finishes strong through a pair of Dolphins defenders.
Destime with the basketball. Now it's Flagg. Flagg looking to work his way inside, kicks it out to Kopech. Now Destime. Destime bounce pass goes inside to Taylor, but the ball knocked away nicely, and now it's Watson with the basketball. Watson working it in the corner to Balcom, and his long three-pointer is good, and the Cougars open up their biggest lead of the game. It's 20-16.
And that pass fake caught Rigo Destime looking the wrong way, and that gave Balcom enough space to knock down that three, as the late recovery by Destime gave him just enough space to hit that three-pointer.
Destime with the basketball, kicking it out to Taylor. Taylor with the open three-pointer, and he buries it. Christian Taylor coming into today's game shooting 54% from the three-point line. Hits his first, and the Dolphins cut it to 1.
Both teams off to a good start from the outside. The Dolphins 2 for 3, the Cougars 3 of 6.
Watson's floater in the lane, that's no good, and now it's Flagg with the rebound, and the Dolphins running 3-on-2. Flagg over to Spencer, who lays it up and in. Spencer gets his first points of the game, and the Dolphins regain a one-point lead. Balcom looking to work against Taylor. Backs out to the three-point line. Bounce pass. Now goes over to Watson. Watson kicking the ball out over to Cooper, whose long three-pointer is good. Both teams shooting well, and the Cougars take a 2-point lead. Taylor Up to Kopak as the Dolphins break the Cougar press. And now it'll be Taylor for the Dolphins. Flag out beyond the three-point line, over to Destine. Bounce pass goes over the Flag. He'll take the three-pointer. It's up, no good. Taylor fighting for the rebound among three Cougars and lays it up and in.
A great start to this game for Christian Taylor. He's led the way for the Dolphins offensively in this game. Now 6 of 8 from the field with 13 points.
As Backham drives in, that shot's no good. Kopak grabs the rebound, and here comes the Dolphins with the ball. Destine out by the three-point line, looks to work his way inside, but he loses the handle. But the Dolphins commit the foul in the backcourt. And that's going to be on Destine, so he'll pick up his first, the team's fourth. And Ray Savage will come in, and he'll replace Christian Taylor. Taylor continuing to play well, Joe, on the offensive end.
He's off to an excellent start in this game, knocked down his lone shot attempt from beyond the arc. As I mentioned before, 6 of 8 from the field, now 13 points to go along with a pair of rebounds, including that last offensive rebound, which turned into a putback on the second opportunity for the Dolphins.
And Rossiter checking back into the game as well, as he'll replace Jade Spencer. Summerer with the basketball. Now it's DeAndre Thomas. Handing it off to Williams. Kicks it back. The open three-pointer by Saturn is banked up and in. And Saturn now has 7, and the Cougars regain a 3-point lead. Savage. Now it's Destine over to Rossiter. Kicks it out over to Kopak, and his open three-pointer is good. Both teams on fire, 26-26. We haven't even played 10 minutes here in the first half.
The two teams are combined 8 of 13 from downtown. The Dolphins 3 of 5. The Cougars now 5 of 8 from three-point range.
Thomas with the basketball. He pulls up, takes that three-pointer. It's no good. And Savage goes up high for another rebound. Destine with the basketball. Short pull-up jumper, rolls around, no good. Summerer there to grab the rebound and hand it off to Williams. Williams now setting up that Cougar attack. Hands the ball off to Cooper. He puts up the long three-pointer. He buries it once again. He's 2 of 2 from the three-point line. 29-26 to score. It'll be a 30-second timeout. Let's keep it right here. Joe Kean continuing to shoot on fire.
And I spoke about it during the pregame. You need to run these Cougars off of the three-point line and keep them away from the charity stripe, the free throw line, of course. And so far, the Dolphins haven't been able to keep the Cougars from knocking down these three-pointers, some of them a bit deep, as we've seen Jeff Cooper hit 2 shots from long range, especially that last one. That one may have even been a step or two further back than the first. But overall, the Dolphins have allowed too many open looks from downtown. And though they've shot the ball well themselves, it hasn't been enough right now, and they find themselves trailing by 3 points halfway into half number 1.
So 29-26 to score. The Dolphins find themselves trailing by 3 in a game that they played very well offensively. And looking out on the floor to be Stephen Flegg, Rigo Destine, Ray Savage, Christian Kopak, and Rob Rossiter on the floor as we have an opportunity to look at Taylor take that one to the basket. And Christian playing really well, getting a little bit of a breather here, Joe.
And a much-deserved breather, as he's really been what's kept the Dolphins' offense going here in this first half. He has nearly half of the CSI points thus far, 12 of the 26.
So the Cougars come out and try to show press, but the Dolphins get the ball across and set up offensively as Rossiter's jumper from the free throw line extended is no good, and Saturn goes up and grabs the rebound.
Make that 13 of 26 for Taylor.
Williams handing the ball off now to Thomas, and we're going to have a whistle and a traveling violation on DeAndre Thomas. Both teams doing a pretty good job protecting the basketball here, Joe, in this first half.
They have, and because of that, transition opportunities have been limited. The Cougars have tightened up their defense in the half court from what we saw in the first 5 minutes or so, but it hasn't been enough to keep these attacking Dolphins out of the paint. We'll see if that continues.
So Latunji back into the game now for the Dolphins, feeds it up over to Savage, and the Dolphins set up now with 18 seconds remaining on the shot clock. Kean in his zone as they hand the ball off to Latunji now with 10. Now it's Flegg who dribbles the ball off his foot. The Dolphins still with time with 5 as Savage puts up the long three-pointer and buries it.
Three-point shooting prowess continues for the Dolphins. They're now 4 of 6 from downtown.
Savage hits his first three-pointer of the game, and we're tied once again at 29. Thomas with the basketball. Thomas gets the ball back up over to Williams. Dolphins trying to pick up their defensive intensity here. Williams backing the ball out to the three-point line. Over to Thomas. Thomas, nice bounce pass inside to Summerer, who lays it up and in. Good patience that time by the Cougars.
Great patience by the Cougars. As you can see, TJ Tibbs telling his players whenever a Cougar had the ball beyond the arc to get up and get right on that ball handler, not allowing even the slightest bit of space for a three-pointer.
As Flagg feeds it into Latunji, misses the layup, but Rossiter right there to clean up the weak side rebound and lay it up and in and tie it up at 31. Williams. Saturn driving down the lane, feeds it up over to Summerer, who lays it up and in, and he's taking the ball right to the basket, and now it'll be a 30-second timeout taken here by Kean University. Both teams continuing to run up and down the floor and play offensively very well.
And that last basket for Michael Summerer came way too easy. If you're the Dolphins defensively, I'm sure TJ Tibbs didn't like that one. But back at the other end, we've now seen a pair of Dolphins offensive rebounds turn into easy baskets for them. So the Cougars need to close out possessions down at the defensive end and come away with those defensive boards. We've seen the Dolphins get a pair of putbacks, 4 second chance points for them in this game. And now overall, the Dolphins do have a fairly sizable lead in the rebounding battle, 13-7 on the board so far here with 8 minutes to go in half number 1.
Yeah, and for the CSI Dolphins, as we have an opportunity to take a look at Ray Savage bury that one from deep right down in the center of the floor to tie this game up. And, you know, the team's continuing to run up and down offensively. Dolphins already giving up 33 points here, Joe, in this first half.
It's been a high-scoring first half, and we've seen the Dolphins put together some explosive halves offensively over the last 3 games, but they need to carry that through both halves. Not easy to do, but in this game they may need to come away with the victory.
So it'll be Savage with the basketball as the Dolphins look to set up offensively with 17 on the shot clock. Flagg. Bounce pass goes back up over to Savage. He feeds it over to Latunji, who jams it up and in. His second jam of the game. He's got 6. We're tied at 33.
When the ball was caught in the post, Latunji cut open on the back door. Savage saw him, the posting player. Stephen Flagg did not. Savage made no mistakes on that alley-oop pass.
As Williams tries to feed it inside, that time to Kerr, it goes off his hands, and the Cougars turn it over, so it'll be Dolphin basketball with 7 minutes, 20 seconds remaining here in this first half.
And the Cougars have been vulnerable on the backdoor play when the ball is caught in the mid-post. If the Dolphins can see that when they catch the ball in that mid-post area just inside the free throw line, there are certainly openings there, and they could come away with some more easy baskets.
Flagg with the basketball now, kicks it back up over to Savage. Bounce pass over to Latunji. His jumper from the free throw line extended is good. He continues to look better and better offensively. He's got 8.
And that's a great way to ensure those openings stay there, knocking down that mid-range shot out of the post-up. He turned around, immediately took the face-up jump shot. Nice shot there by Latunji, who continues to shoot the ball extremely well as you get another look at that alley-oop dunk by Adeola Latunji from Ray Savage. And another highlight play to add to Latunji's reel from this season. I believe I've seen him dunk the ball in game now at least 6 or 7 times so far.
No doubt, as it's going to be Cougar basketball as the banker off the lane is no good. Rossiter goes up high to grab the rebound, and the Dolphins with a 2-point lead and possession. Flagg feeds it inside to Rossiter. He looks to get it inside to Latunji. Now Rossiter, his jumper from the free throw line extended is no good, and Kerr grabs the rebound for the Cougars, and it'll be Williams bringing it across the midcourt line. Williams driving to the basket and laying it up and in. He took that ball from the midcourt line, Joe. It was never stopped.
Strong finish there by Williams. But going back to that Dolphins possession before for just a moment, great pass by Robert Rossiter. The opening was there. Backdoor once again as Savage knocks down the 3, but Latunji couldn't handle the ball, and that allowed the transition opportunity in the layup for Williams.
6 points now for Savage. The Dolphins regain the 3-point lead. Williams looking to work against Savage. He looks to take it to the basket. Now they kick it up over to Kerr. His open three-pointer is up no good. Flagg goes up high for the rebound, and he'll take the ball himself. Nearly loses possession, but now it's Savage. Beautiful feed inside to Rossiter, whose reverse layup is up and in. Dolphins open up their biggest lead of the game. It's 5, 40-35.
And there it is, the backdoor cut once again. Whenever the Dolphins have a ball handler in that mid-post area just inside the free throw line, the Cougars have allowed the players to slip in behind that zone defense and come away with easy baskets.
So it's the Cougars now with the basketballs. Williams now will work against Destim. Williams breaking him down, taking it to the basket, bounce pass inside to Storm, who lays it up and in. And the nice play that time by the Cougars cuts it to 3, and we're going to have a timeout taken on the floor. It'll be a 30-second timeout. Let's keep it right here. And, this is the third time, I think, this half, Joe, that head coach T.J. Sims saw some things defensively he didn't like, and he took a timeout.
Let's talk about that offensive possession of the Cougars right there for just a moment. The Dolphins, prior to that last possession for Kean, were able to exploit the backdoor once again and get an easy layup. On that last possession for Kean University, you saw right there the dribble penetration result in a wide open layup. And I think the easy dribble penetration has been a result of the Dolphins having their defenders play way up on ball handlers from beyond the arc. You could see TJ Tibbs from the bench telling his players to get up on the ball handler, play closer. You could hear him screaming out, more, but playing that close to the ball handler has allowed them to easily drive into the paint and dump the ball off to an open teammate. So we'll see if the Dolphins can find a balance, not allowing three-pointers, but still exerting some defensive pressure on the ball handler around the perimeter.
So it'll be Dolphin basketball now with a 3-point lead as we approach 5 minutes remaining here in this first half. Flag with the basketball. Good. Gets it up over to Rossiter. He puts up the three-pointer. That's no good. And it'll be Backham to go up and grab the rebound for the Cougars. He puts up the long three-pointer and buries it. And, he's been quiet this afternoon, but he's that freshman player that's leading the team in scoring, and he ties the game up at 40. Destim, bounce pass over to Latunji, who backs his way up and lays it in. Dolphins regain a 2-point lead as now it's Watson feeding it inside. That layup goes up and in, and the foul. As that time it's Kerr able to take the ball to the basket and draw the foul, and it'll be Rossiter, the first player of the game, Joe, to get to 2, I do believe.
And the Cougars now are beginning to take advantage of the Dolphins in the paint, while at the same time still maintaining hot three-point shooting. It's been a balanced attack for Kean so far in this game. It's also been the same balanced attack for the Dolphins, and we'll see which one of these teams can get the best of the other first. It's been a very entertaining back-and-forth first half.
So Kerr completes the three-point play, and the Cougars take a 1-point lead as they're in the middle now of an 8-2 run. Flag driving inside against Watson, and now Watson will draw the foul for the Cougars. That'll be his first, just the third team foul here for the Cougars. So with 4:14 remaining and 23 on the shot clock, the Dolphins will inbound. Savage puts up the three-pointer. That's no good, but Flag goes up to grab the rebound. Taylor with 13 points all early in the first half gets the ball out over to Flag, and the Dolphins will set up offensively. Savage with 15 seconds on the shot clock. Savage has the ball stripped away and stolen as Kean gets the ball to the basket. A beautiful defensive play as Kerr was going to try to take that one right to the hole, but Savage, a great defensive play, Joe, to knock it away.
And that's great effort there from Raymond Savage. It's what you love to see as a coach, a player who turned the ball over, not getting overly frustrated, staying committed to his assignment defensively, getting back and making up for that turnover.
And now Latunji looking to take it to the basket. He's fouled, and he'll lay it up and in and go to the line. That time Kirk came back and made a swipe at the ball, and Latunji strong enough and kept his concentration going, Joe, and was able to lay it up and in.
Well, in the pregame, we mentioned both Christian Taylor and Adiola Latunji as players to watch for the Dolphins offensively. Latunji now has a chance to score his 13th, which would match Christian Taylor for the team lead. He does. Both Latunji and Taylor with 13 points in this first half on 6 made shots apiece.
So the Dolphins retake a 2-point lead now, 45-43, with 3:28 remaining here in the first half. Williams over to Backham. Backham working against Taylor. He pulls up, takes the three-pointer. That's no good. And Flag grabs the rebound now for the Dolphins. Flagg looking to drive it coast to coast and lay it up and in. So Flagg grabbed the rebound in the far corner, Joe, and took it all the way.
That's a great take coast to coast by Stephen Flagg, who finishes with some finesse around the rim. Dolphins now have a 4-point lead.
His first basket of the afternoon, and it's Pregame with the basketball, looking to work against Savage. He kicks it over in the corner, and the long three-pointer by Watson is good. He continues to hurt the Dolphins. He leads all Cougar scorers with 12.
12 points on 3 of 4 from downtown as well. He exceeded his scoring average within the first 4 minutes of the game.
47-46, the Dolphins lead by 1. We approach 2:30 remaining here in this first half. Flagg with the basketball, hands it off to Savage. Now it's Taylor with 8 on the shot clock. Taylor spinning his way over to Rossiter. His open three-pointer is good. Rossiter now the third Dolphin to double digits with 10. 50-46, the Dolphins lead by 4. Pregame with the ball. Guarded tightly by Taylor. Now feeds it inside, knocked away from Watson. He comes, recovers, puts up the three-pointer, no good. Rare miss for Watson. And now Savage will leave it for Taylor as the Dolphins bring the ball across the midcourt line with the 4-point lead. Taylor using the Rossiter screen. Now kicks it up over the Flagg. It goes off the official, but able to be played by Strom. And now here comes Pregame. Pregame out by the three-point line now has 20 seconds to shoot. Bounce pass inside now to Kerr. Kerr works it back to Pregame. Pregame tries to force his way inside, and he'll pick up the offensive foul. Nice play that time by Savage to draw the offensive foul. The Cougars will turn it over, and it'll be Dolphin ball.
And a nice play there by the Dolphins defensively to cut off any potential pass on the dribble penetration. They were able to use the baseline as a third defender, so sandwiching the ball handler between 2 players and the baseline left him with nowhere to go with that basketball, and the Dolphins earned themselves possession with 1:23 to go, leading by 4. Their largest lead of this first half has been 5. They have a chance to extend that largest lead of the half here.
Taylor will be fouled in the backcourt now, as Williams will pick up the foul for the Cougars. For Williams, that's going to be, I believe, his second personal, Joe. Even though there's 1 on the scoreboard, make it his first. 16 foul for the Cougars, both teams with 6. 1:19 remaining. Dolphins with a fresh 30-second shot clock. Taylor walking the ball slowly across the midcourt line. Taylor with 20 to shoot. Now it's Savage. Savage cut off, now feeds it to Rossiter. Rossiter over to Savage. Savage's long three-pointer is up, no good, but he's able to come forward and grab the offensive rebound. Now Rossiter puts up the open three-pointer. That'll be short, so it'll be Cougar basketball with 49.7 seconds remaining, and the Dolphins lead by 4.
That offensive rebound makes it now 6 for the Dolphins here in this first half. They've turned that into 2 second-chance baskets for a total of 4 second-chance points. That's the difference right now.
Williams works inside to get Savage and pulls up and hits the jumper. So Williams starting to play better here in the latest stages of the first half.
And the Cougars have been getting contributions across the board here in this game, as have the Dolphins. Both teams really on point offensively. Not much defense in this first half, however.
Just under 5-second differential between the shot and the game clock. 13 seconds to shoot. Now Savage with 10 seconds as the Dolphins look to set up offensively. 5 on the shot clock. Savage now kicks the ball inside to Spencer to go off his hands and out of bounds. So, Joe, the Dolphins can't get the ball to the rim. The Cougars with an opportunity to take the last shot with 5.6 seconds remaining.
A good pass there from Savage, lured the defender away with his eyes and was able to draw the defender just far enough away from Jade Spencer to get him the ball there on the low block. Unfortunately, went through his hands.
Williams now looking to work against Savage. Williams able to drive down the lane. He just couldn't hit the layup, and the Dolphins will go into halftime with a 2-point lead.
And that was a thoroughly entertaining first half of play. In this one, 98 combined points scored by these two teams. Tremendous shooting both from the field and three-point range. For the Dolphins, they shot just over 58% from the field, and for the Cougars, just over 53%. The Dolphins were 6 of 12 from downtown. The Cougars, 8 of 15. So a combined 14 of 27 for these two teams from three-point range, and tremendous shooting from the field made for a very high-scoring first half. Both teams, I'm sure, will have a lot to discuss defensively in the locker room.
So we're getting ready for halftime as the College of Staten Island leading this game by a score of 50-48, and the head coach Nick Durant nice enough to come over and join us. And Coach, the Dolphins playing very well offensively, but Kean able to get their own points as well.
Yeah, we played well so far. Defensively, we have to do a lot better closing out. They're taking way too many threes early. We just got to run them off the line and keep playing well offensively. I think we'll be all right.
And, you know, Coach, the team doing a nice job not turning the ball over in the first half. What are you looking for the second half from your Dolphin team?
Same thing. Ray's doing a great job passing the ball, seeing the court. Christian will get in, play a little bit more. He'll control it a little bit more. We'll try to slow it down and run things through the zones and stuff like that. So should be okay.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. Good luck in the second half. That was head men's assistant coach Nick Duran, nice enough to come over and join us. And the Dolphins, as we mentioned, Joe, playing very well on the offensive end, but Kean's been able to do their own damage against the Dolphins defensively.
We heard Coach Duran just said it. They need to run the Cougars off of the three-point line. That's something the Dolphins struggled a bit with, especially earlier in the first half and then very late in the first half. So for the Dolphins defensively, they need to do a better job of guarding the three-point shot while at the same time not allowing the easy dribble penetration that opened up some passing lanes for Kean in the paint. So if the Dolphins can do that defensively, they should be in good shape in the second half. And I spoke about it in the pregame. This team needs to be consistent through two halves. You can't expect to shoot as well as you did in that first half for an entire game, but in this one, the Dolphins at the very least need to shoot well in half number 2 to keep up with these Cougars.
So we're at halftime. The Dolphins lead by 2, 50-48. We'll step aside, we'll take a break, and then we'll be back to bring you halftime statistics and get you ready for the start of the second half as you're watching men's basketball coverage on CSI Sportsnet, CSIDolphins.com.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit NCA.org.
La 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 la. I love you so. I love you. I love you. La 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 la. La 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Oh! Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Alvin and the Chipmunks want to remind you, bacteria can hide in food and make you ill.
Wow!
But you can keep bacteria from ruining your day with 4 simple steps. Clean.
I'm waiting for the rinse cycle.
Separate. Cook.
Fire in the hole!
And chill.
We chipmunks are notoriously tidy.
Check your steps. The road trip to food safety starts at foodsafety.gov.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. Yeah, but I don't know where to start. That's why we're here. We're free, handsome. I think we're breathtaking. And here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. I got this. Is that Bran? Colleges love extracurricular activities.
Chess really isn't my thing.
I got this. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Fire and ice.
Those don't really go together.
Go to getschool.com for more info.
There's something delicious happening this season at Tim Hortons, and it's only 99 cents. Get a rich, decadent hot chocolate or creamy French vanilla for the sweet price of 99 cents. Great quality at a great value. It's all good at Tim Hortons.
Half shooting over 58%. Kean shooting 53%. Good, exciting, quick, well-played first half for the Dolphins and the Cougars.
Yeah, it was a great first half for the Dolphins, Mike, and their prowess offensively in that first half really got started from the opening tip, as you just saw as we came back from break. Adeola Latunji throws down an emphatic two-handed jam. That was right off of the opening tip, and that got things started for the Dolphins in that first half, and it was a great first half for Adeola Latunji and Christian Taylor. As you see here, he gives the ball up to Ray Savage and then gets it right back on an alley-oop pass. That one not quite as emphatic as the alley-oop you'll see later in this package to Adeola Latunji, but still a good offensive play by the Dolphins, as you'll get a look here at a deep three-pointer by Ray Savage with a defender's hand right in his face. And that just goes to show what kind of shooting we saw from these two teams from downtown in half number one. Both teams extremely efficient from three-point range, shooting over 50% from downtown. And as promised, here's that second alley-oop from Ray Savage to Adeola Latunji, and Latunji once again throws it down with two hands. He played above the rim in that first half, as we're accustomed to seeing from him, and also knocked down his jump shots from mid-range as well, really forcing the defense to key in on him. He was a big part of the reason why the Dolphins thrived offensively in that first half, as was the backdoor plays. You see right there, Savage to Rossiter, that backdoor pass has been there for the Dolphins. The Cougars have had trouble defending it. We'll see if they close those gaps in their zone defense here in half number two.
So Adeola Latunji and Christian Taylor both finishing with 13 points in that first half for the Dolphins. Latunji coming off of a 27-point career-high effort against Hunter College on 11 of 17 shooting, picking up right where he left off here, Joe. 6 of 7 in the first half, 13 points in just 13 minutes of play.
And we've talked about the efficiency of these two teams and the individual scoring from several players on both of these rosters. So taking a look at some areas where there was some differentiation between these two teams, albeit a small difference. You take a look at the free throw shooting for the Cougars. They got to the line 7 times as opposed to only 3 for the Dolphins. The Cougars knocked down 6 of their 7 free throw attempts for an 86% free throw shooting rate in that first half. The Dolphins 2 of 3 at 66 2/3% from the charity stripe, Also on the glass, these two teams in the rebounding battle, as I mentioned during the pregame as well. The Dolphins lead that battle 20-11, including 6 offensive boards for the Dolphins as opposed to only 2 for the Cougars in that first half. And the turnover battle, very close one. The Dolphins 6 to the Cougars 4. Assistant coach Nick Duran talked to you about it at halftime, Mike. He'd like to see his team continue to take care of the basketball in half number 2, as I'm sure all coaches would. The Cougars can say the same thing, as they only turned it over 4 times in half number 1. So these two teams really very close across the entire first half stat sheet.
Yeah, and it was a very exciting, very well-played first half offensively here for both teams. The Dolphins find themselves leading at halftime by a score of 50-48. So why don't we step aside, take one final break, get you a couple of words from our sponsor, and then we'll get you ready for the start of the second half as you're watching exclusive men's basketball non-conference coverage right here on your voice of CSI Sports, CSI Sportsnet, CSIDolphins.com. We're back and we're underway here for the start of the second half, as the Dolphins with the first possession look defeated inside, and they'll draw the foul. So Dolphins coming out quickly offensively here to start the second half.
And the Dolphins attacked the basket a lot in the first half as well. Did a very good job getting inside, both off of the dribble and off of effective passing. I've already said it several times how effective that backdoor play was for them in half number 1. And they get to the rim early here and draw the foul here in half number 2.
Krishna Taylor going 6 of 8 from the field. Adiola Latunji going 6 of 7. So the Dolphins starting guards 12 of 15 in that first half.
It looked like Taylor was set up at the free throw line, now ruled a non-shooting foul, and I think TJ Tibbs was upset with that decision.
Yeah, you know, Joe, it looked like the officials got together, talked about it, put him on the line, and then changed their mind. So it'll be Dolphin possession here, just underway to start the second half. Savage, Taylor now gets the ball up over to Latunji. Now it'll be Rossiter. Dolphins working the ball around, and now Latunji out by the three-point line inside at 10 seconds remaining. He tried to get the ball inside, but the Dolphins turn it over, and now it'll be Williams for the Cougars.
Good hands there by Mike Summerer to knock that pass away.
Williams working against Savage. Gets the ball inside to Storm. Now Summerer feeds it inside, but that one's going to be off the hands of Watson, out of bounds. So it'll be Dolphin basketball. Just 10 turnovers in the first half, Joe. Both teams start the second half with a turnover.
And that ball had a lot of spin on it, that pass from Summerer to Watson, cutting back door. Not an easy pass to Corral. I've been on the receiving end of that one before.
Taylor over to Rossiter. His jumper from the free throw line extended is up, no good. And Watson grabs the rebound. Summerer out by the three-point line, picks up his dribble, now gets it out over to Williams. Bounce pass inside to Kerr. Kerr looking to work against Rossiter, and he draws the foul and lays it up and in. And Kerr very physical that time, Joe, taking the ball inside against Rossiter and laying it up and in as Rossiter will pick up his third personal foul.
And Kerr was only 3 of 7 in the first half for the Cougars, but he's been a low post presence. When he feels he has a matchup advantage, he's gone right at his defender, and he opens up the second half with an and one. We'll look to convert from the free throw line and does. As you mentioned, Rossiter just picked up his third foul and will have to check out in favor of Stephen Flagg, who enters the game with 18:51 to go in half number 2.
The Cougars now 7 of 8 from the free throw line, so they made their free throw count, and they have a 1-point lead. Taylor with the basketball now. Gets the ball out over to Flagg. Now back over to Taylor as the Dolphins set out offensively. Flagg over to Savage. He fakes the three-pointer, now works his way inside, and we're going to have a whistle. And it's going to be an offensive foul on the Dolphins on Spencer as he picks up his second. So Dolphins pick up a couple of quick team fouls here in this second half.
And we spoke about it before, keeping the Cougars off the free throw line and running them off of the three-point line. And now with 2 early team fouls, the Dolphins find themselves in danger of sending the Cougars into an early bonus here in half number 2.
Summerer gets the ball up over to Kerr. Now it's going to be Storm with the basketball. As Kerr looks to work against Spencer, he backs his way in. His shot is up, no good. And Latunji grabs the rebound for the Dolphins. His second rebound of the afternoon, and now Taylor will draw the foul. And each team picking up just 6 per team fouls apiece in that first half, Joe. Both teams with 2 here in the first 2 minutes.
In the first half, as you mentioned, Mike, not many fouls committed, though the advantage at the line did belong to the Cougars.
As Latunji continues his torrid shooting, he now leads all scores with 15, and the Dolphins regain a 1-point lead. Williams with the basketball now. Now gets the ball up over to Kerr. Kerr picks up his dribble, and now that pass is going to be stolen by Latunji. Latunji takes it to the basket and lays it up and in. He's got 4 quick ones here in the second half, and the Dolphins now lead by 3. Watson bringing the ball up across the midcourt line now for the Cougars, working on Taylor. Watson fighting his way through Taylor and lays it up and in, and he rode Taylor all the way to the basket on that play. He now has 14.
And it's been a very strong game thus far for Justin Watson, who, as I mentioned before, exceeded his scoring average right at the beginning of this game and has continued to shoot the ball very well since.
Flagg, as Kean trying to trap the ball in the corner. Flagg looking to drive his way inside, and he'll turn the ball over. And here come the Cougars with the basketball down by 1. Summerer feeding it out over to Storm, but he's going to get called for the travel. So Steven Storm, the 6'2" sophomore from Old Bridge, turns the ball over, and it'll be Dolphin basketball now with a 1-point lead. Taylor Cougars showing a little bit of a trap. Now they back up as it's flag out by the three-point line now for the Dolphins over to Savage. Savage bounce pass inside, and that's going to be another turnover as now Storm drives it to the basket and lays it up and in, and that time just a careless pass leads to the turnover basket.
Once again, Savage did get back defensively, but it wasn't enough to stop Steven Strom from finishing strong at the rim, as that was another dangerous pass right there. Savage did try and look away the defender on that previous pass, but they didn't bite.
Latunji now gets the ball out over to Savage. Now it's Flag out by the three-point line. Flag driving his way inside, may have gotten away with a travel. Instead, Latunji lays it up and in, and he'll go to the free throw line to shoot two.
And Adeola Latunji continues his strong play into the second half. He now has 17 points on 8 of 9 from the field. He's had the dribble penetration and the mid-range jump shot going for him in this game thus far, and he can make it 19 here with a pair of free throws, his second and third attempts from the line.
As Latunji's first free throw is up and in, we're tied at 55. Dolphins lead the all-time series 11-10, including 8-4 here at CSI, and they've won 7 in a row. But, Joe, the Cougars giving the Dolphins all they want here this afternoon.
As you get a look there at the stat line for Adeola Latunji, but you're right, Mike. The Cougars have given the Dolphins a battle here in this game, and I think the Cougars shooting from the field has far exceeded expectations, as has that of the Dolphins in this game. It's been an offensive exhibition thus far.
So it's going to be now the Dolphins with the turnover as Taylor gets called for stepping on the end line, and he might have, but the only reason he did was he was kind of shouldered out of bounds. So a nice job by the Cougars defensively forces the Dolphin turnover.
I may have to revise my last statement. In the first half, it was an offensive exhibition, but thus far, the Dolphins with 5 turnovers here in the second half to 4 for the Cougars. So a combined 9 turnovers, 1 short of matching the combined total in the first half for these two teams.
So that's going to be Watson as he works the ball out over in the corner now to Williams. Williams looking for somewhere to go with the basketball, and they turn the ball over once again. It's a nice play by Spencer, and Savage comes away with the basketball. Now it's Latunji. Latunji working his way to the basket. That shot's up no good. Kerr there to grab the rebound. Watson putting up the long three-pointer. That's no good. Nice rebound by Spencer. He didn't have position, but he got the rebound over Saturn, and Taylor lays it back up and in. Nice play triggered by Spencer. He gives the Dolphins a 2-point lead. Spencer picking up the foul. Well out from the basket. That's going to be the third team foul for the Dolphins, the third foul on Spencer. So the Cougars to inbound. And Destine will check in, and he'll replace Jade Spencer.
It's a tough call on Spencer. It looked like the dribbling player, I believe it was Balcom, may have extended his forearm as he dribbled the ball up the floor. I thought they were calling an offensive foul. Instead, it goes against Spencer and sends him to the bench.
As Williams puts up the tough three-pointer, that's no good. It's going to be knocked out of bounds, last touch by the Cougars, so it will be Dolphin basketball with 14:49 remaining here in the second half.
There's a look at the three-point shooting going into halftime. Both teams shooting at least 50%. The Dolphins yet to attempt a second-half three-pointer.
Flag, long cross-court pass over to Savage, and just as you say it, Joe, Savage buries the three.
And the Dolphins continue to knock them down as they have now matched their largest lead with a 5-point lead, 14:20 to go here in half number 2.
So Dolphins with their 5-point lead as Saturn takes the ball strong to the basket, misses the layup, and Flag comes away with the basketball. Flag pushing the Dolphins up court, gets it over to Savage. He feeds it inside to Flag. Flag now back up over to Destine. His long three-pointer is up no good. Long rebound will be grabbed by Saturn. Saturn looking to work his way inside, and he's going to draw the foul, and Dolphins pick up their 4th team foul. That'll be on Flag. It'll be his second, team's 4th. So the Cougars will inbound. Dolphins open up their lead to 5, matches their biggest lead of the game. And now the Cougars with an opportunity to inbound as Williams gets the ball up over to Backlund. And we're going to have a whistle and another foul on the play. And boy, the team's playing defense all game long, and now we're getting fouls on nearly every possession as the Dolphins are ready now with 5 here in the first 6 minutes.
And that will send Adrian Balcom to the line for, I'm not even sure if he was going up with that shot. Well, I guess we'll see here. And they do rule that he was in the act of shooting, so Balcom to the line for 2. That was the 15th foul, so Balcom definitely was to the line for 2 shots.
It's 60-56 the score. Dolphins with 5 team fouls here, 3 for the Cougars. Dolphins with a 4-point lead as Balcom will have 1 more free throw at the line. We mentioned in the pregame show he shoots over 80% from the line, and he buries them both. And the Dolphin lead is down to 3 as Taylor with the basketball gets it up over to Destine. Now Taylor across the midcourt line as he's bumped by Balcom. And, Joe, that could have been a foul as easy as any of the other ones were.
Absolutely right, Mike.
Destine with the basketball. Now it's out to Flagg. Flagg feeds it inside to Latunji, who lays it up and in and draws the foul. And he's getting better and better, Joe, with every possession.
He definitely is, Mike. And I didn't see the mid-range shot that he's shown in this game all season long up until this game here today, and he's made that shot look easy. I believe he's knocked down just about all of those mid-range attempts. He's only missed 1 shot from the field, now 2, I believe, with that last layup in transition. But it's been a great game for Latunji, who is unable to convert on the free throw attempts. The Dolphins will settle for 2 on that possession, and they maintain a 5-point lead.
So the Dolphins match their biggest lead of the game. It's 5 as it's Balcom with the basketball. He drives down the lane and draws another foul as Kean continues to go to the free throw line and draw fouls here in the second half. As now Taylor will pick up the foul. That's his first and the team's 6th.
And we talked about at halftime that the Dolphins needed to run this Cougars team off of the 3-point line, but they also needed to keep them off of the free throw line as well, as I mentioned during the pregame, and they simply haven't done that here in the second half, as that's now 9 for Balcom. He'll look to reach double digits with this next free throw.
As his second free throw is up and in, and the Cougars staying in the game from the free throw line. They're now 11 of 12, and they trail by 3. Savage over the midcourt line as the Dolphins now will set up with the 3-point lead as they look to feed it inside, but that pass is going to be knocked away, and now the Dolphins turn it over. And then the Cougars turn the ball right back as Saturn put that ball on the end line. So it'll be Dolphin basketball with 13-10 remaining here in the second half.
And it's been a much sloppier second half than it was the first half. Turnovers and fouls plaguing both teams.
Flagg with the basketball now. Out by the 3-point line. Pass goes back to Savage. Now back up over to Flagg. Kean trying to force the Dolphins to move the ball around quicker as Destine puts up that 3-point, and that's going to be no good. And it'll be Balcom to come back and grab the rebound. Balcom looking to go coast to coast, and boy, oh boy, what a terrible call, Joe. That was, I thought that might have been a travel, but instead another foul called on the Dolphins as the parade to the free throw line for the Cougars continues here in the second half.
When I heard the whistle, my initial thought was jump ball. The ball looked like it was pinned to Balcom's thigh. Instead, he'll go to the line once again, and it has been Balcom, the catalyst, drawing fouls now and getting to the free throw line for the Cougars. We mentioned it during the pregame, how well he shoots from the free throw line, and he continues to get to the charity stripe here now with 11 points early in there, I should say, close to midway through this second half. The Dolphins' lead now trimmed down to 2.
Yeah, so the Cougars now 12 of 13 from the free throw line, make that 13 of 14, and that's kept them in the game here in the second half. And in addition to that, Joe, the Dolphins now having picked up their 7th team foul, the Cougars will be in the 1-1 for the rest of the game with over 12 and a half minutes remaining. Savage with the basketball now out over to Latunji. Now Savage out over to Flagg. Dolphins working the ball out around the 3-point line. The Cougars doing a nice job defensively. We're going to have a whistle and another foul called. And it's turning into a contest of fouls, Joe, here so far early in the second half.
And how big has Adeola Latunji been here for the Dolphins now in this second half? As through the first half, both he and Christian Taylor were on point offensively. Through the first half, Latunji had 13 points. He already has 7 here in the second half, and has allowed the Dolphins to keep this lead while the Cougars continue their parade to the line, as you said before, Mike, to use your term. And Latunji knocks down the first of his 2 free throws to extend the Dolphins' lead back to 2. Chance to make it 3 with the second free throw.
His second free throw is up and no good. And, you know, the Dolphins not helping themselves from the line. They've missed a couple here in the second half. And the Dolphin lead is now 2 with 12 minutes and 10 seconds remaining here in the second half. Long three-point attempt is in and out. And Savage comes back and grabs the rebound as Saturn missed the open three. And now Savage will draw the foul. And now the Cougars have 6. So the Dolphins will inbound the basketball, and on their next foul, the Dolphins will be in the 1-and-1, Joe.
Fouls plaguing both teams, as I mentioned before, and that issue just continues. It doesn't seem to be slowing down at all, as it looks like the Dolphins will not be making a substitution. I thought they were calling a player back to the bench.
13 fouls here through the first 8 minutes of the second half. Taylor with the basketball, and we're going to have a whistle and a timeout taken here by the Dolphins. It's a 63-61 lead with 11:57 left in the game. It'll be a full timeout, so why don't we step aside, take a break. Dolphins lead by 2. You're watching men's basketball coverage on CSI Sportsnet, CSIDolphins.com. We're back with 11:57 remaining. Exciting game here. Dolphins leading by 2, 63-61. They have the basketball with a 2-point lead. Taylor gets the ball out over the flag. Now it's Latunji. Latunji now with 21 points for the Dolphins. Flag looking to work his way inside. He fights his way inside. He misses the shot, and it'll be a shot clock violation. His flag shot did not hit the rim, so the Dolphins turn the ball over. So it'll be Cougar basketball down by 2.
Defensive intensity from both teams has increased here in the second half, and that may be part of the reason why we've seen 13 fouls committed between the two teams thus far, 7 by the Dolphins, 6 by the Cougars.
Summerer getting it into Flag. He just backs him straight up and lays it up and in. And Cougars doing a nice job being able to back in the Dolphins as Flag gets the ball out over to Latunji. It's off his hands. Ball bounces around, and Kopech able to regain possession for the Dolphins. And Savage gets hit hard from behind, misses the shot, but will draw the foul. As that time he was hit hard on the play. I believe that was Vaughn Anderson, who just checked into the game, the 6'4" sophomore from Plainfield, I should say, who'll draw the foul. Savage will shoot 2. Ray hits the first. He'll have one more upcoming. Savage, an 89% free throw shooter. He's now 17 of 19 from the line this year.
The Dolphins just inserted some more size into the game. James Delahanty comes in off the bench. Perhaps T.J. Tibbs saw that last possession with Summerer backing down easily in the paint and decided to get Delahanty in there for some minutes at the defensive end.
So James will get his first appearance of the afternoon here in the second half, and he'll come out to guard Summerer. Bounce pass inside, the ball is kicked around, and a nice job by Satter to come away with the ball, and now the Cougars will take a timeout. So a nice job on the play by the Cougars to move quickly. It looked for a second, Joe, like the Dolphins might be able to come away with it, but a nice play by Carrie Saturn to keep possession of the ball for the Cougars.
Was a nice play, and that play really shows where this second half has differed from the first. Seen a lot more in the turnover department, the fouls department. These two teams really having to fight possession in and possession out just to get a semi-quality shot up. In the first half, it was open three-pointer after open three-pointer, easy penetration, especially for the Dolphins. And the Cougars did a lot of their work in the paint with their backs to the basket in that first half. Were able to really utilize a bit of a size advantage, not a tremendous advantage in size, but the Cougars have utilized the size advantage that they do possess well in this game. They did so in that first half. We saw it on that last offensive possession for Kean here in the second half. And for the Dolphins and the Cougars both, really, they simply haven't shot the ball as well from the field as they did in the first half. And through about really now the midway point of half number 2, these two teams have only scored 15 for the Cougars here in the second half and 15 for the Dolphins. So these two teams neck and neck through the start of half number 2.
And, Joe, the Dolphins turned the ball over just 6 times in the first half. They've already turned it over 6. And the Cougars turned the ball over just 4 times in the first half. They have 6 turnovers as well. As you mentioned, both teams coming out and the defensive intensity picking up here in the second half. Backham with the basketball. Gets the ball over to Summerer. Now back up over to Backham with 5 seconds to shoot. He looks to work against Taylor. Taylor picks the ball away clean, and here come the Dolphins looking to run. Taylor bobbled the ball a little bit, and now we'll back the ball out as the Dolphins look to set up their offensive possession here with 20 to shoot. Latunji driving down the lane, and we have a whistle, and we're going to have a foul out on the floor before Latunji drove to the basket. And now he'll go to the free throw line to shoot 1-and-1. And now the Dolphins with some big 1-and-1 opportunities here in the middle of the second half.
And Latunji 3 of 6 from the charity stripe here in this game. He's frequented the free throw line thus far. He's done a great job dribbling into the paint and getting looks around the rim, and that has resulted in foul calls committed against him. So we'll see if he can capitalize from the line. He's really failed to do so thus far. And the way this game has gone, free throw shooting may be the difference between these two teams here in the second half.
As Kean substitutes in 4 new players with 10 minutes and 21 seconds remaining here, and Latunji steps up. He hits the first. He now has 22 points. We mentioned he's coming off of that 27-point effort. You see his line up on your screen there, and a couple of rebounds and an assist to go along with those 22, make it 23 points, and the Dolphins find themselves ahead by 4 once again, 67-63. Williams walks the ball across the midcourt line now for the Cougars. Now Summerer. Summerer feeds it inside to Kerr, and we're going to have a whistle and a foul on the play. And boy, Joe, if you want to call that foul, you could call that on any possession you want.
Well, the way this game has been played with the Cougars having their backs to the basket very often in the paint, like you said, Mike, a call like that could possibly be made more often. As soon as the player's back was turned toward the basket, the whistle blew, and that will send Micah Kerr to the line. And that is the Dolphins' 8th team foul.
Sorry, Joe. And you know it's Kean that's initiating all of this contact. So other than the Dolphin defender just stepping aside and letting them go right to the basket, I'm not sure what they're supposed to do defensively. They're just backing the Dolphin defenders right up to the basket. Latunji now with the basketball as the Dolphins lead by 4. Rossiter out by the three-point line, gets the ball out over to Latunji. Latunji feeds the ball out over to Taylor as the Dolphins now with 10 seconds to shoot. Rossiter, now Taylor with 6 seconds. Taylor back up over to Rossiter. He puts up the three-pointer and buries it with just 3 remaining on the shot clock.
Well, the Dolphins have maintained their efficiency from the field in the first half here into the second half. It's been a slight decline for the Cougars in half number 2, and that's allowed the Dolphins to extend their lead from 2 at halftime to 7 here with 9:20 to go in the second half.
Dolphins' biggest lead of the game here is the Cougars working around for the open three-pointer. A big miss that time by Summerer, and Taylor goes up high to grab the rebound. Dolphins with the ball now in a 7-point lead. Rossiter out by the three-point line. Bounce pass into Delahanty. Delahanty gets called for the travel as the Dolphins turn the ball over. Didn't see much of a travel there, but another turnover for the Dolphins as it's Cougar basketball. Big couple of possessions, Joe, coming up here for the Cougars.
Turnovers continue to pile up here in the second half. The Dolphins have now committed 7 second-half turnovers.
Williams with the basketball. Now Storm looking to feed the ball inside. Again, Kerr backing in strong. This time the shot no good, and Rossiter there to grab the rebound. Taylor slicing his way to the basket and floats it up and in. Big basket there for Christian Taylor, and the Dolphins continue to open up their lead. They have their largest lead of the game.
And if Christian Taylor can get going here now after Adeola Latunji has gotten off to such a strong start here in the second half, you have to like the Dolphins' chances to really pull away and build a bigger lead here in this game.
As Summerer does a great job pounding his way to the basket and laying the ball up and in. He now has 8 points. It's going to be a full timeout here. 8 minutes and 7 seconds remaining here in the second half. And Dolphins playing a strong second half here, Joe, as they're able to open up a 2-point halftime lead to 7.
Well, I mentioned the numbers for Adeola Latunji after the first half. He had 13 points on 6 of 7 from the field. Latunji now has 23 points on 9 of 11 from the field and is 5 of 8 from the free throw line in the first half. He only attempted a single free throw and knocked that one down. So here in the second half from the charity stripe, Latunji 4 of 7. With that last basket, hopefully Christian Taylor can get going here in half number 2. He has 4 points thus far in the second half after shooting in the first half 6 of 8 from the field. Has knocked down the only 2 shots he's taken in the second half. He's now 8 of 10 from the field. As you got to look at that last Christian Taylor basket, and that's something that a lot of players can't do with that kind of touch around the rim. They drive inside with a great deal of momentum toward the basket, then they're able to float it over a taller defender. That's a very difficult shot, especially when you face teams with a lot more size than this Cougars team. And right there, you see Michael Summerer getting it done at the offensive end for the Cougars. They've done a lot of their work offensively in the low post in this game, backing the Dolphins down to the rim, as you've mentioned, Mike, and finishing around the basket. After in the first half, they really did a lot of their work from the perimeter. I should specify, in the second half, they've gotten it done more so around the basket. The first half, they got it done primarily from the perimeter. So they need to find a balanced attack here for the remainder of this game. Just over 8 minutes to go. Dolphins will inbound, leading by 7.
And a big basket by Summerer to cut the Dolphin lead down to 7, as the Dolphins now will have the basketball, as we're now under 8 minutes remaining here in the second half. Latunji looking to work his way inside, and we have a whistle and a foul called, and that was a foul called on Steven Strom, and that was a tough call. Strom didn't like it, but it will allow Latunji to go to the free throw line to shoot a 1-on-1. He stepped up and hit his last free throw in that 1-on-1 situation, Joe.
That was a big pair of free throws he knocked down during his last trip to the line, and he's unable to knock down his first attempt here.
So a big miss by Latunji gives the Cougars the basketball now, trailing by 7. Williams with the basketball. Bounce pass goes up over to Strom. Now it's Summerer out by the three-point line. 13 seconds to shoot now for the Cougars. Kerr looking to work his way inside. He feeds it over to Summerer, who lays it up and in. Another pair of points in the paint, Joe, that time for the Cougars.
And that's a play that Kerr did not make before in the post. He was double-teamed down in the low block the last time he had the ball for the Cougars and tried to force up a shot in that double team. Didn't score it. That time he drew an extra Dolphins defender and was able to find the open Michael Summerer cutting backdoor underneath the rim, who finishes the easy layup.
Summerer now with 10 points. He scored the last 4 in a row for the Cougars, who cut it down to 5, but Latunji comes back and hits the outside jumper. He now has 25, and the Dolphins' lead is back to 7.
And Latunji continues to knock down that mid-range jump shot off the catch and face-up, off of the pull-up. He's excelled from that range all game long.
Williams, a beautiful crossover move that time, and we're going to have a whistle and a blocking foul called against Delahanty, as that foul on James is going to be his first personal. The Dolphins over the limit. They have 9, so it'll be a 1-and-1 as we have another opportunity to look at Sumner lay that one in to help keep the Cougars in the game. Williams with a big 1-and-1 coming up here for the Cougars, and he misses it. Big miss for the Cougars, Joe.
And they've shot the ball very well from the free throw line thus far, and they really need that one, as the Dolphins' lead is now 7 inside of 7 minutes to go in the second half.
Latunji getting the ball up over to Taylor. Taylor looking to work the ball inside, and they nearly threw it away on the pass to Taylor, and that time when Taylor bounced it into Spencer, they did turn it over, Joe.
The Dolphins have been more efficient from the field here in the second half, have increased their field goal percentage up to 59, but the turnovers have been what has really slowed them down in half number 2.
Dolphins lead 74-67 as Summerer with the basketball out by the three-point line for the Cougars. Now Watson backing the ball out. Watson has 14 for Kean here this afternoon. Now it's Strom. Strom bounces it inside to Kerr. Kerr spinning around inside. His shot is up, no good. Spencer grabs the rebound and feeds it over to Taylor. Now Rossiter at the three-point line. He fights his way to the basket. The shot is up, no good. And we're going to have a whistle and an offensive foul called on the Dolphins, and that will lead to free throws now for the Cougars, who will be in the double bonus for the final 6 minutes.
And going back to that last possession, once again, Micah Kerr found himself in a double team under the basket. It was Keenan Williams Jr. who was wide open behind the three-point line on the left wing, and Kerr simply didn't look to pass, went up in the double team and was stifled once again. So the Dolphins would be wise to continue double-teaming him around the basket, not allowing him to beat his man one-on-one for easy baskets in the low post, where he's excelled in this game.
So Williams to the line to shoot 2. He hits the first. He'll have one more upcoming.
Stephen Flagg will check in for the Dolphins, replacing James Delahanty.
Williams, a 71% free throw shooter coming into the game. You look at his numbers on your screen, 5 points, 9 assists for the Cougars here this afternoon as he hits them both. And that cuts the Dolphin lead down to 5. And Cougars really doing a nice job from the free throw line. It's really helped keep them in the game here, Joe, in this second half.
That last pair of free throws, it increases the Cougars to 15 of 18 from the free throw line. The Dolphins 8 of 13 in this one.
As Taylor gets the ball across the midcourt line, as the Dolphins with the basketball and a 5-point lead. Rossiter picks up the dribble, gets the ball out over to Flagg. Flagg working his way inside over to Rossiter. Kean trying to double team the ball now. Now it's Flagg with 5 to shoot. Now back up over to Rossiter. He puts up the open 3 and buries it. And Rob Rossiter with 16 points now for the Dolphins as they open up their biggest lead of the game. It's 8 points, 77-69, and the Cougars will take a full timeout. And Joe, the Cougars keep coming and coming at the Dolphins, but Dolphins keep finding an answer offensively.
And you mentioned it, Mike. The Cougars looking to double-team the ball when a Dolphins player looks to penetrate into the paint off the dribble, and that has allowed for some openings beyond the arc. They can't cover everything. If you have 2 of your perimeter defenders collapsing on the ball, the Dolphins just need to overload one side of the floor with 2 offensive players well spaced out. That will force one defender to cover 2 players, and right there, they couldn't cover Robert Rossiter on the left wing. He knocks down the 3. As you get a look at that pass from Stephen Flagg out to Rossiter, and Balcom simply couldn't close with enough time to contest that shot. So a big 3-pointer there for Rossiter. You mentioned that for Rossiter now, that brings his point total up to 16. He's 4 of 7 from downtown in this game. A strong game from Rossiter now. He's one of 3 Dolphins to score at least 16 points, those being Robert Rossiter, Christian Taylor, and Adiola Latunji.
And you mentioned, Joe, a couple of times that the Dolphins needed to do a better job closing out the 3-point shooting for the Cougars. The Cougars 8 of 15 from the 3-point line in the first half. 0 of 4 here, Joe, in the second half.
And I think it's clear that Dolphins head coach T.J. Tibbs made a point to his team. Run this team off of the arc. We heard Nick Duran tell us that at halftime as well. That would be something that he would look for his team to do here in half number 2, and they have certainly succeeded in that area. And the free throws simply haven't been enough to make up for the lack of 3-pointers made by the Cougars here in half number 2. We mentioned during the pregame, keep the Cougars off the free throw line, run them off the line from beyond the arc. The Dolphins have done one of those 2 things here in the second half, and the way they've been shooting the basketball, it's been enough. I talked about consistency as well. Through 2 halves of play, the Dolphins have shot the ball extremely well in both the first and second half. They're now 5 minutes and 40 seconds away from a non-conference victory.
Taylor, Latunji, Flagg, Spencer, and Rossiter on the floor here for the Dolphins. 5 minutes, 27 seconds remaining here in the second half as it's Backham with the basketball. Backham working against Taylor. He gets the ball up over to Watson, whose long 3-pointer is good. Huge 3-pointer for Justin Watson.
And especially big coming off of the made 3 by Robert Rossiter. Watson now 4 of 7 from downtown. First 3-pointer of the second half for the Cougars.
He now has 17 points to draw the Cougars back to within 5 with 5 minutes remaining here in the second half. As that pass is going to go off the hands of Taylor. Nice defensive play by Watson to knock that ball off of Taylor's hands, and the Dolphins turn it over once again. So it'll be Cougar basketball down by 5 as Savage will check into the game here for the Dolphins, replacing Delahanty. Watson with the basketball now. Long cross-court pass comes up over to Backham. Backham rises up for the 3-pointer. That's no good. And Latunji goes up and grabs the rebound.
And you could just tell when Balcom caught that ball, he wanted to put up the 3-pointer. Initially hesitated and then decided to take it with the bit of space he was given. Couldn't knock it down.
Savage now with the basketball. Big possession coming up here for the Dolphins. Fed inside to Latunji, who lays it up and in. And Latunji's at 27, coming off of the 27-point effort against Hunter on Saturday. 79-72. Dolphins lead by 7. Strom with the basketball. Now Backham. Pregame working his way inside. A beautiful feed. The shot is up, no good. And Rossiter grabs the rebound. Nice defensive play and rebound by Rob Rossiter.
Good job by Rossiter there. Seeing the ball and seeing his man did not allow that pass to take him by surprise. We've seen it take several Dolphins by surprise in this game thus far.
Rossiter thought about the three, now looks to work the ball inside, and Dolphins fortunate that time, Joe. Watson got his hands on it but couldn't control, so the Dolphins will maintain possession as you have another look to see Latunji score his 27th point of the afternoon. Dolphins inbound now with 13 to shoot. Taylor, bounce pass over to Flagg. Flagg back up over to Rossiter. Another open three-pointer is no good. Big shot that time by Rossiter. Watson comes away with the rebound. Watson back up over to Kerr. That long three-pointer is no good. And now Taylor goes up high to grab the rebound. Joe, just 3:25 remaining.
And it's going to be tough for the Cougars to get back into this game if the Dolphins don't commit fouls, don't turn the ball over, and they're not knocking down three-pointers.
Big turnover that time by the Dolphins, and coming back and missing the three-pointer is Strom. So Cougars can't take advantage, and now the Dolphins with the basketball as the clock winds down to 3 minutes remaining here in the second half.
And if you're the Dolphins, take care of the basketball here. No more turnovers, and at the defensive end, just don't commit fouls. Continue to run the Cougars off the three-point line and double in the post if you have to.
Latunji out by the three-point line. His pull-up jumper is up, no good, but the Cougars can't grab the rebound as Taylor's putback is up and in, and he draws the foul. We're just waiting for the confirmation, and yes, Taylor lays it up and in and draws the foul. Big basket by Taylor. He now has 19, and Joe, the Dolphins match their biggest lead of the game now, 81-72.
And an opportunity here to extend their lead to double digits and make it a 4-possession game with 2:43 to go here in the second half. Big free throw upcoming for Taylor as the horn sounded.
Big basket. As Taylor goes to the line, looks to give the Dolphins the first double-digit lead for either team this afternoon, and he does so. And the Dolphins now lead by 10 with just 2:43 remaining in the game. And, you know, Kean's come in and played very strong and going to need to come back now down double digits, Joe.
And they're going to have to find the shooting stroke that they possessed in half number one to have any chance to get back in this game. They shot the ball extremely well in the first half. Not so here in the second half.
Williams with the basketball. He feeds it inside to Kerr, who lays it up and in. Lays it up, I should say. Can't hit the layup, but will draw the foul. And good play by Kean as they have an opportunity, Joe, to score points without clock running down, as you see Taylor staying with it and laying it up and in. The play that gave the Dolphins a 10-point lead, and now it'll be Micah Kerr to go to the line to shoot 2 for the Cougars, and he hits the first.
And it's been good work on the glass there, as you saw that last offensive rebound into the and one on the putback by Christian Taylor, but the Dolphins lead the rebounding battle 36-21, and that gap has widened here in the second half.
Cougars led in this game by a score of 55-54, Joe, but since then the Dolphins have come back and tightened up on the defensive end and have played well offensively, continue to play well, and lead by 8 with the basketball now, and 2:22 remaining in the second half. Savage wisely bringing the ball out with an 8-point lead as the Dolphins still with 15 seconds to shoot. Taylor looking to work against Strom now with 8. Taylor taking it to the basket and laying it up and in, and that time Taylor wound the clock down and still got the ball right to the basket, Joe.
And time again, Christian Taylor has demonstrated great body control around the rim, taking both floaters in the lane and contact jump shots right around the rim, and he's had the stroke all game long, and a good defensive play there will get the Dolphins possession right back.
Beautiful play that time by the Dolphins to get the block and the basketball and a 10-point lead, and now Taylor will draw the foul. Both teams in the double bonus, Joe. So the Dolphins, Taylor will go to the line to shoot 2 as you get to see that beautiful move by Taylor, who came up with the last 5 Dolphin points, Joe, and now we'll go to the free throw line with an opportunity to shoot 2 more and further expand this 10-point CSI Dolphin lead. Taylor's first is up and no good. He'll have one more upcoming.
And we just got to look at that last made basket by Christian Taylor. When you carry that kind of momentum into your defender, it's very hard for a defender to contest the shot with you coming in towards the rim, as your momentum really moves the defender off of you. It's just difficult to put up that shot with the touch necessary to find the bottom of the net. But Taylor, off of glass or straight in off of a floater attempt all game long, has been knocking those kinds of shots down.
He's now 2 of 3 from the line. He has 23 points, and the Dolphins have their biggest lead. It's 11. And keeping the Cougars in the game is Pregame as he buries that long three-pointer. He now has 15 points as he starts to heat up late. 1:29 remaining. Kean not wanting to go away here, Joe, as they hit the big three-pointer to keep them in the game, and they trail by 8.
Well, if you take a look at this game, in the first half, the two teams, as we mentioned several times already, shot the ball extremely well. The Dolphins shot over 58% from the field, the Cougars over 53%. But now here in the second half, the Dolphins just under 58% from the field, so a very slight change to a very good number. But for the Cougars, who shot 53% in the first half, they're now down to 47, and you'd say, well, 47, that's a great number from the field, but it hasn't been good enough here in the second half, as the Dolphins have maintained a 58% clip from the field, and from three-point range have shot 50%, really from start to finish, have alternated a make with a miss, and that's been what's kept them ahead in this game and allowed them to build this 8-point lead.
And you know, Joe, you look at the starting backcourt for the Dolphins today, Adeola Latunji with 27 points on 11 of 14 shooting. Christian Taylor with 23 points on 10 of 13 shooting. That's 50 points on 21 of 27 shooting. That's sterling backcourt play by this very young CSI Dolphin backcourt.
And we featured Latunji and Taylor in the pregame, talked about how the numbers for Latunji have steadily been rising all season and how impressive Christian Taylor's shooting percentages were thus far in this season. And Taylor has improved upon those averages in this game, shooting 77% from the field and has knocked down his lone attempt from beyond the arc. As for Adeola Latunji, he's also shooting over 77% from the field, nearly 79 from the field on 11 of 14. He's 5 of 9 from the line. You mentioned it, Mike. 27 points for Latunji, 23 for Taylor.
As Kean showing a little bit of a press here in the backcourt as Taylor gets the ball in for the Dolphins, hands it to Roston, and now Taylor will get the ball back as Kean looks to back up defensively. Boy, Joe, I'm not sure that's what I would do.
Well, they've made that decision. There's no changing it now, as too much time has elapsed to foul. They need to come away with a stop, and then they need to force some turnovers.
They're down 3 possessions here, and the Dolphins could run the ball down to just about a minute remaining. So flag with the basketball, feeds it inside to Taylor. His floater is up, no good, but he draws the foul. And boy, oh boy, worst of all worlds for the Cougars on that play, Joe.
And Taylor nearly finished through the contact once again as that one rolled off of the front of the rim. But more importantly, Taylor will head back to the free throw line for 2. And these 2 free throws can once again make it a 4-possession game.
Taylor's first free throw is up off the back rim and no good. So now Christian 2 of 4 from the line. He'll have one more upcoming. You see those 7 rebounds on your screen to go along with his 23 points. Make that 24 as the Dolphins lead by 11, and we have 1 minute remaining here in the second half.
Cougars need 3-pointers.
Williams with the basketball. Now Strom. Strom up over to Pregame. That long three-pointer is up, no good, and we're going to have a whistle and an offensive foul as that time Pregame tried to draw the foul. A nice play by the freshman, the ref not buying it, and now the Dolphins pick up the loose ball foul underneath the basket. So an opportunity for them to go to the free throw line, Joe, and with 50.1 seconds remaining and the Dolphins leading by 11 here, Dolphins putting themselves in great position to make it 4 in a row with a lot of conference basketball coming up here, Joe.
Well, I mentioned 3 keys to the game before we got started here this afternoon, and the Dolphins accomplished all 3 of them. Right now they lead the rebounding battle 38-21. You mentioned Christian Taylor with 7 rebounds in this game. Several of those were offensive. 3 of them were. And also I mentioned the Dolphins needed to have that killer instinct and play consistently through 2 halves. They shot the ball extremely well in half number 1. Were somehow able to maintain that in half number 2 as that three-pointer is no good. And then they put the Cougars away once they built the lead here late in the second half. Did not allow them to get back within any closer than 8. And with that turnover right there, or tip pass, I should say, looks like the Dolphins will inbound right in front of their own bench.
And, of course, not the pass that head coach T.J. Tibbs was looking for on the play. Kind of a 50-50 ball, but the Dolphins will end up maintaining possession as it's Rossiter with the basketball. He's able to lay it up and in, and the Dolphins now lead by 12. Shot clock off as Backham looks to drive down the basket. His floater is up, no good. Latunji grabs the rebound, and that's going to do it as the shot clock is off, and with 15 seconds remaining, the Dolphins will win their 4th game in a row. They will go above 500 as they will open up their record to 8-7 as they get ready for conference play to get underway. 2 conference games coming up later in the week as the College of Staten Island beats Kean for the 8th consecutive time by a final score of 89-77.
And I think it's fair to say the Dolphins are playing their best basketball of the season right now. They shot the ball extremely well here in this game today, and it was their shooting that they rode all the way to victory in this one. The Dolphins will finish the game shooting from the field 58.6% after in the first half of this game, the Dolphins shot 58.3, so they actually managed to improve upon their shooting in half number 2 from three-point range. They finished shooting at an even 50%, and defensively they really tightened up their defense in the second half. A lot of foul calls went against them in that second half, but outside of the free throw attempts by the Cougars, the Dolphins didn't allow much, especially some of the easy baskets from both under the rim and from three-point range that they allowed in the first half. So a strong defensive effort in half number 2 for the Dolphins, a stellar shooting performance from start to finish, and a big non-conference win for the Dolphins over the Cougars.
Yes, the Dolphins win their 4th game in a row, Joe, and you really got to be getting more and more impressed by the way they're getting play out of their young backcourt. Christian Taylor continues to improve with every game, picking up 24 points here today. And Adeola Latunji, you know, for a freshman player to come in and start playing the way he's been playing here in the latter stages of this season here so far, he's getting more and more impressive with every game, Joe. You know, you mentioned he's been shooting better and better from the outside. And, you know, this Dolphin team really looking good heading into the middle of January.
His improvements have been remarkable. He got it done from just about everywhere on the floor with the exception of beyond the arc, but the team doesn't need him to be knocking down three-pointers. Every time he caught the ball in the high post area right around the free throw line, he was able to face up and immediately knock down that mid-range jumper. We've never questioned his ability to penetrate off the dribble and finish at the rim. 2 things he did extremely well today. If he's consistent from the free throw line, he will undoubtedly continue to draw fouls with how aggressively he attacks the basket. He shot 5 of 9 from the charity stripe today, but if the Dolphins continue to get play from Adeola Latunji like they did in this game, they'll have to love their chances moving forward in the CUNYAC and in any non-conference games they may play down the line with Latunji in the lineup. We mentioned their struggles outside of the conference early this season. They pick up a big non-conference win here today, and you also mentioned how well Christian Taylor played in this game. 24 points on 10 of 13, 77% from the field for Taylor. He also had 8 rebounds in this game with a pair of assists. Rob Rossiter also with 19 points for the Dolphins, was 4 of 8 from downtown, 7 of 15 from the field. He also contributed 9 rebounds, just shy of a double-double in this game. Rossiter finishes with 19, 9, and 2. Strong effort from just about every Dolphin who saw the floor in this game, and 3 Dolphins scoring over 19 points. You love to see that, and a great team effort at both ends of the floor, especially offensively in both halves, defensively in the second half.
So this is the first of 3 home conference games coming up this week. The Dolphins will be back in action this Wednesday night as both the men's and women's team will face Brooklyn College. Brooklyn College, one of the teams that look like they're going to really challenge the female Dolphins. And, you know, Joe, we didn't have much of a chance to talk about the women's team here today, but they came off of a fabulous 16-point win against Hunter College, 67-51, a game that they didn't even play their best basketball and still won by 16.
And the women continue to roll, especially in the CUNYAC Conference, where they remain unbeaten. A pair of very difficult losses so far this season, one that we covered here at the Tank. They took on Wagner College, a very tough loss, a game that they led late. I think the lead was 7 entering the first quarter, and then another very tough loss at MIT, a 2-point loss in overtime. So the women have been playing very well so far this season. It has been consistent for them from start up until this point in the season, and now a pair of conference games for them here at the Tank this week against Brooklyn and John Jay. So for the Dolphins. It's a busy week. It's a very busy week, including today's non-conference matchup and a pair of conference matchups here at the Tank as well. Also, they'll take on CCNY on the 22nd. That's the men playing 4 games during a 7-day span, And for the women, they'll play 3 games in that same span.
So the Dolphins win 89-77. Let's take a look at the final stats, Joe, as the Dolphins shooting a phenomenal 59% from the field, 50% from the three-point line. They out-rebound the Cougars by 18 and, really played a very good game here this afternoon, doing what they needed to do to win. Kean played them tough, led in the second half, but the Dolphins able to close the second half on a 35-22 run, Joe, as they win by a final score of 89-77.
And much like many games the Dolphins have played this season, it was a tale of 2 halves. Fortunately for the Dolphins, they played extremely well in both the first half and in the second half. For the Cougars, unfortunately, they did not play nearly as well in the second half as they did in the first. And despite all of their trips to the free throw line in half number 2, they couldn't maintain their red-hot three-point shooting and shooting from the field overall that they took into the second half. And for that reason, along with the rebounds, the Dolphins out-rebounded the Cougars 40-22, including several offensive boards. For those reasons, the Dolphins came away with a big 12-point victory outside of the conference, ran away with it late in that second half. The Cougars got to within 8 late in half number 2, but you never really felt like they'd be able to overcome the Dolphins' offensive prowess in this game, and they came up short.
So that's going to wrap things up here from the Tank. The College of Staten Island wins their 4th game in a row as they are able to hold off Kean University here this afternoon and up their record above 500 as they now have a record of 8-7 on the year. So for Joe Foreman and our broadcast engineer, Arthur Kapatanakis, this is Mike Babuski saying so long and thanks for listening. Don't forget to join us. Our next broadcast will be Tuesday as the CSI women's team will go against John Jay College here at the gym. Our next basketball contest will be this Wednesday as the women will face Brooklyn College beginning at 5:30, pregame show at 5 o'clock, followed by the men as they will face Brooklyn College. Big conference basketball coming up this week. Lots of playoff and seeding implications on the line. So don't forget to join us this Tuesday for swimming and Wednesday for basketball, and we'll see you then. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday night.